for some peace of mind, but TikTok said a gator drove a jeep through the blinds. Florida man's at it again with fireworks and a goat, and someone married a ghost in a Dollar Tree coat. Hey, what in the Walmart rapture is going on? Aliens dancing in a Waffle House song. Karen's got a taser in the checkout line, and Dr. Oz just adopted birds to fight off crime. Oh, I'm just sitting here scrolling, my jaw on the floor. The internet's a circus and I can't take no more. Yeah, when it's Wallen, there's a raccoon in the sink. Someone robbed a Wendy's just to steal a frosty drink. A pastor's gone viral yelling about the end is near, while folks ride hoverboards in wedding gear. Hey, what in the Walmart rapture is this mess? Florida's a movie, but it's filmed in VHS. Someone fed meth to a squirrel named Dave, and now he's in a cage just throwing rave. I'm just...
Howdy, guys. It is actually Wednesday today, not yesterday when I thought it was and told you guys we weren't going to be doing the Coburger stream. So there you go. Maps exist. I must have, absolutely gone into Georgia mode and just forgotten that calendars exist. I am wearing my shirt. It is pinned up because I did get the wrong size. I'd ordered this like 6 months ago. So I am going to tweak a couple things, add my logo, but I am working on merch. It is a thing. Pretty much, JKD Buck. We have got a lot of news. We've got foot fetishes. We've got Hellfire missiles versus UFOs. We've got true crime. We've got dumpster trash humans. We've got good humans. We've got all of the assorted crazy that goes on in the Mornings with Mo. Our first story is... yeah, it took forever, and look, companies benefit greatly from the fact that I have super ADHD now. So if I get irritated with something and I don't write an email to complain about it right then, I will never remember. So people actually benefit greatly from the fact that sometimes my train of thought just never circles back. In a story that I wish I did not have to cover, but is unfortunately a absolute story, the body cam footage showing the Amish mother's chilling statement to police after she took the lives of her children, and then her insanity pleas. So I did kind of want to wait until the fog of war first reports came out on this story to give you a bigger idea of what was going on. Authorities in Ohio have released body cam footage showing an Amish mother seemingly tell police that she gave her 4-year-old child to God before the child was found dead on a dock. Ruth Miller, 40, is facing murder, assault, and DV charges after allegedly driving a golf cart into a river with her 3 children on board on August 23rd. If she's Amish, why does she have a golf cart? I'm not trying to be dumb. Maybe she's from a more progressive sect of Amishness. Look, I don't know anything about Amish, and so maybe it is a stereotype, but why does she have a golf cart? I don't know. The questions I ask on a daily. Now, all 4 of them survived following the woman's initial account provided to police, and as revealed in body cam footage, authorities found the body of her husband, Marcus Miller, and her son, Vincent Miller, at a nearby dock. In a new development this week, Ruth is now claiming she is not guilty by reason of insanity. Now, the body cam footage obtained by News 5 Cleveland shows the mother of 4 making several statements and seemingly to confess that she had given her son to God, claiming that her husband had been swallowed by a fish. I threw him in the lake and gave him to God, she allegedly told officers in one part of the video. He's sweet, I love him, I gave him to God. No. At one point, she places her hand on one of the officers and said, "He's real and he loves you and he's coming soon," seemingly in reference to God and not her husband who was swallowed by a fish. What in the Walmart craziness is going on? Now, when police asked her about her husband, she told them that he was at the bottom of the lake. It seemed immediately apparent that Ruth, at the time of the incident, was suffering from a severe mental ailment that unequivocally prevented her from appreciating the wrongfulness of her conduct. Now, that is the hurdle that you do have to kind of step over in order to successfully have a plea of insanity. It is, that you were completely unaware of your actions. The way she's confessing and the way she's talking about this, the way she's going up to police officers and touching them, and really not trying to hide her actions might be indicative of that. Look, I'm not a lawyerologist. I just watch a lot of trials. Oh, and thank you, Janie J. And thank you, JKD Buck. I knew there were more progressive ones that use different things, but I'm not an Amish expertologist. I know you guys are shocked. Though I have watched For Richer or For Poorer a lot, and if you need a happy, kind of cute romantic movie, it's got Tim Allen and Kirstie Alley. So cute. It's one of my family's favorites. Like we don't agree on much, but that movie is one of our favorites. Now, on Monday, September 8th, Ruth entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity to all 7 charges: 1 count of aggravated murder, 1 count of murder, 3 counts of DV, 1 count of felonious assault, 1 count of endangering children, according to an online court record reviewed by People magazine. Now, as facts surrounding this tragic incident are further revealed, it becomes even clearer that Ruth was suffering from a mental health crisis that absolutely prevented her from appreciating the wrongfulness of her conduct, Friedman told People. I will probably be watching this body cam footage. Again, this was a case that I just did not have a chance to look into yesterday. Yesterday I thought was Wednesday, so if that tells you how good a day yesterday was, that's how good a day yesterday was. Now, in an online obituary posted after the deaths, Vincent is remembered fondly by loved ones. He was such a sweet-natured, innocent child that lit up a room wherever he went, read part of the obituary. He will be dearly missed by his sisters, brothers, grandparents, cousins, aunts, and uncles. Again, this is just a heartbreaking story, and I did not have the bandwidth to look into it yesterday, so I will be looking more into it and kind of getting things lined up so we can look at the body cam footage either today or tomorrow. Now, in people I don't quite know because they're not my genre of music, but this is probably going to be a fairly big case or a big story, so I wanted to clue you in on stuff that was happening. A dead body was reportedly found in singer's D4 DVD. Look, I don't know who this guy is. Maybe his name is David. I'm going to say DVD4. Look, I have no clue. I I basically stopped my musical appreciation train somewhere in, the mid 90s and kind of stayed there. So anything from Phil Collins to angry girl music, I'm sort of well versed on, not so much else. Anyway, whatever this person's name actually is, there was a dead body found in the car associated with him. The Los Angeles Police Department is investigating a death in Los Angeles after investigators found a decomposing human remains in the trunk of a car in a tow yard in California, Hollywood, on Monday. Now, the vehicle is reportedly registered to Dave Forvid. Look, for David, who the hell knows? A popular singer who I have no idea who that is, who is currently on world tour. In fact, he's scheduled to perform in Minneapolis last night. Now, shortly before 12:30 p.m. on Monday, September 8th, the LAPD responded to Hollywood Tow on North Mansfield Avenue after someone reported a foul-smelling odor coming from the vehicle in the impound lot. Heck yes. Now, human remains were found inside a plastic bag located in the front truck of a Tesla, according to authorities. Now, there is currently no information about the identity of who these remains are. KTLA 5 reported that LA County's medical examiner office also responded to the scene and has not been able to determine the gender of the person based on the level of decomposition at this moment. The case has been classified as a death investigation as of right now. Now, KABC and TMZ reported that the 2023 Tesla is registered in Hampstead, Texas, to musician Dave Forvid, whose real name is David Anthony Burke. So if that makes any sense to y'all, that is who this person really is. The Tesla bearing the Texas license plates was towed from the Hollywood Hills after it was abandoned 5 days prior, and investigators believe that the body was stashed in the Tesla trunk for about 5 days before it had been towed. Now, the impounded Tesla... No, not that one. Sorry, I'm trying to turn off the heat on my chair. It's getting a little too hot. Okay, so it was found there. Now, the 20-year-old singer-songwriter has millions of streams and is currently working on his Withered tour with, stops that include North America at the end of September in Los Angeles. Now, he's known for his hits like Romantic Homicide and Here With Me, which have over 1 billion streams on Spotify. Again, I have no idea who this guy is, but this is probably going to be a fairly big case, especially with him being semi-famous or fully famous. If he's fully famous and I don't know him, this is not, a test of his famousness that I don't know him. I'm an inside cat. I have no idea who half people are anyway. Well, this guy, I mean, if ever a mugshot has matched a grossness, we have this guy in true crime headline news. Girls Do Prawn mastermind gets 27 years in prison as victims recall how the sick scheme ruined their lives. Died in that hotel room. The sick mastermind behind the twisted website Girls Do Prawn was sentenced to nearly 30 years in federal prison after dozens of women delivered gut-wrenching statements begging the judge to throw the book at the pervert. Michael James Pratt, 47, received 27 years in prison by a San Diego judge on Tuesday, 5 years longer than prosecutors had recommended and almost 3 years over federal guidelines. Now, the sentence came after 38 women that he had tricked and even forced into shooting not gross, but adult videos in California hotel rooms, which Pratt then posted online without their consent, delivered grueling and fiery testimony about how their lives had been ruined. The life I was meant to live died in that hotel room, one victim said, while others had no quarter for the predator who raked in millions of dollars from their videos. I asked the court to show no mercy, one woman told the judge, according to San Diego Union Tribune. We aren't here for forgiveness, we're here for justice. I won, a third told Pratt directly. I'm not your victim, I'm your reckoning. This time, it's you who cannot leave, another said. Now, Pratt pled guilty to trafficking, fraud, and coercion and other charges in June, 3 years after he was arrested and extradited from Spain in 2022. The New Zealand native has been hiding out there since 2019 and had spent time on the FBI's most wanted list while U.S. law enforcement tried to track him down. His vile scheme victimized hundreds of women and started in 2012. Now, most women who were lured to San Diego from across the country were there for modeling gigs. They kind of had gotten phony advertisement from modeling people, headhunters, or however the modeling world works. I'm assuming they don't use LinkedIn, but something similar. So they thought they were going out there for, a possible career advancement instead of getting tricked into making these videos. But once the women, who were mostly between 18 and 21 years old, had gotten to the hotel room, a camera crew would be waiting and they were forced into performing. If they said no, Pratt and his team would cancel their flights to return home and blackmail them with saying they were going to be charged for exorbitant bills for lodging for the production, or else threaten to post the explicit footage, regardless of their consent level. In several instances, film crew even blocked hotel doors with their gear to prevent women from leaving, according to KTLA. Now, when the shoot was done, Pratt would typically pay the women about $2,000 and promise them that the footage was only going to ever be used for private things in Australia and New Zealand, only for it to later pop up on his subscription-based Girls Do Prawn websites and free platforms like The Hub, where they racked up millions of views. This is dumpster. I mean, I don't think we have any questions here, but in case anyone was wondering, it's Satan. Okay? It's Satan. Now, in court Tuesday, some of his victims even estimated that at least 15 women had been tracked by Pratt and had unfortunately passed away by their own hands because of how this so deeply affected their lives. With one victim's mother recalling how she was baffled when her happy daughter suddenly became depressed and addicted and then passed away of an overdose in 2023. I would say it's a number that would not at all surprise me, given the number of women who got up there and said that they thought about these things. Foster said about the prospects of death, stemming from Pratt's evil scheme. Pratt apologized to his victims before he was sentenced and said, "It was never my intention to hurt anyone." Well, isn't that special? It was unintentional in a Sarah Boone kind of way. Isn't that special? Well, guess what? Unintentional does not mean not guilty, which is what you and Sarah get to learn through many, many years in concrete boxes. Now, several people who worked for Pratt have also been sentenced to prison, including cameraman Theodore Gee, who was sentenced to 4 years, Ruben Andre Garcia, an adult actor who had relations with many of the women who were there either by their consent or not. He got 20 years, and effing good job. And Pratt's former bookkeeper, Valerie Moser, will be sentenced on Friday. Now, Pratt and other operators of Girls Do Prawn were also ordered to pay nearly $13 million in damages from 2020. And to the victims who used their strength and their survival journey to speak up against this douche canoe, that's astounding bravery. That is astounding bravery, and I commend you. In scary news, but it seems like this is coming out, again, not to scare you, not to terrify you like mainstream media, but this is a story and you are probably going to be hearing about it. Police say they seized 23 force multipliers from a home of a 13-year-old who appeared to idolize mass situations happening. Now, this is from Seattle. A 13-year-old boy who police say appeared to be fixated on, school unalivers, was arrested on charges of unlawful firearms possessions and making a threat after they found social media posts about intentions to use these force multipliers and take lives. Now, the boy has pled not guilty to a total of 5 charges. 4 of them are felonies in juvenile court on Monday, and he was ordered to remain in detention. A SWAT team raided his home and arrested him at 1 a.m. Saturday in Washington's Pierce County, south of Seattle. His mother told Seattle TV that her son had no intention of harming anyone. Tactical style long force multipliers were mounted on walls, and regular handheld force multipliers were found unsecured throughout the home. In the boy's room, there was a backpack beneath a turtle habitat where there were magazines with writing referencing or writing on them, referencing mass, situations, including Columbine, according to a probable cause statement that the Pierce County Sheriff's Office wrote. Investigators said they also found what appeared to be a face of a known masked person placed in a crude drawing in that social media post dating back to June had displayed force multipliers and dressed in attire that mimicked past school, people. Now the investigation into this person's parents continues. We're still conducting interviews, and it will likely be up to the prosecutor to decide if they will charge the parents for improper storage and safekeeping of firearms or any other crimes they feel are fitting, she wrote in an email Tuesday. I do think that the charging the parents is a slippery slope. Again, I am not a scholarly legal mind, so I can't quite put into words or cite, the contradictions in a legal manner, but I do feel like it is a slippery slope and a move toward collective punishment instead of individual guilt. And I don't know how to square that circle, but I also don't want things like this to continue to happening. So I'm hoping that someone much smarter than me has an answer because I don't have all of them. Now, the AP has not identified the young person, so I don't really have anything more to add to this. It does appear like they probably stopped something big and something terrible from happening, and thank goodness for once they stopped it. Well, I, I have no idea. I mean, half of these stories I could put in final form Jesus, but I don't want to get all, I don't want to, make my entire stream final form Jesus. But apparently Morgan Wallen is continuing to, well, be a douchey McDouche face. You'd think that after, getting kicked out of stuff and getting kind of yelled at SNL, he maybe would stop being an a-hole. Morgan Wallen chucks a baseball bat at an MLB star Jose Bautista's wife during a pre-concert walkout. Okie dokie. Morgan Wallen hurled a baseball bat at MLB star Jose Bautista's wife while mimicking the former Toronto Blue Jays' famous baseball bat flip at a pre-concert walkout in Canada. The now viral faux pas happened as the country singer, who's known for his star-studded arena entrances, walked alongside the baseball legend during the second night of his I'm the Problem tour in Ontario, Canada. Now the video shows the duo chatting. Let's see the video of this. I mean, is it intentional or I'm a klutz? Because I mean, or no, that's just I'm an inconsiderate a-hole who doesn't pay attention. Yeah, that's not a good look, Morgan. I mean, I'm not trying to be, because look, I am socially awkward and I try not to ever assume that most people are doing things for malice, but that does look like I don't give a crap and I just threw a bat at you. That being said, maybe they talked about it off screen so she knew to catch the bat. I don't know. Now the video shows the duo chatting backstage at Rogers Center before Batista hands the whiskey glasses singer the wooden baseball bat, which he swings, then forcefully tosses aside, accidentally hitting the slugger's wife, Nisha, who is standing nearby filming it. Oh, ish, Nisha screamed in pain before someone asked if she was okay. Yeah, that's kind of a douche move. Now, both men, unaware that Batista's wife had been hurt by his failed iconic move, hammed it up for the stadium cameras before the Sand in My Boots crooner dashed off to start his show. You threw a bat and no one looked around? I mean, I'm a boy mom, so maybe I realize that everything can and will become a feral weapon in my home. So we have things like we don't throw things and at people or just randomly in my house. Who I think like a country guy, I don't know. Maybe I need to start paying attention to pop culture if I'm going to report on them. He's some sort of country singer. I do know that. I vaguely know that. Now, Batista has his own bat flip history, of course. He famously chucked his bat following a 3-run homer that sent the Blue Jays into the next round of Game 5 of the American League Division Series playoffs in 2015 against the Texas Rangers. Now, the Dominican player's wife posted her first-person video to Instagram stories, writing, "When Morgan Wallen, excuse me, when Morgan Wallen bat flips your husband's bat and hits you," adding laughing and peeking eye emojis. So it looks like it, wasn't terrible, and she kind of just laughed it off, which is good. You got to have a sense of humor. And that's what I'm talking about with not seeing things through eyes of malice or envy, or that people are trying to attack you. So, if she went and saw it and she's okay with it, then I'm not going to get all morally outraged on her behalf. I have got other things I could be doing than, fighting a fight she doesn't need me to fight. Now, the Dominican players, oh, there we go, sorry. Batista later told E-Talk CTV that his wife is completely fine and the entire ordeal was an accident. "I talked him into doing the bat flip. Funny enough, my wife ended up getting hit by the bat, but she's completely fine, and it was a complete accident. She's totally okay." Now, Wallen has not publicly commented on the blunder, but shared a clip of the walkout on Instagram. So there you go. I mean, they make it sound like a big daggone deal, but it sounds like it's pretty okay. Well, the bounty hunter family is having a bit of a rough year. Priceville officer placed on leave after deadly chase identified as son of Dog the Bounty Hunter. Now, that being said, if you are the son of someone famous, you are allowed to have your own life, and this could be mainly, administrative. This could be something that is, a standard operating procedure. If sadly, in the course of police work, a life is lost, administrative leave is something that generally happens. So, I can see both sides of the argument that he's part of a famous family, but he's also an individual person who might not have, sought out the spotlight. The city of Priceville has identified the officer put on administrative leave after a police chase ended with one teen no longer living in Hartselle over the weekend. Now, the officer's social media shows that he's the son of Dog the Bounty Hunter. Speaking to News 19 over the phone, Priceville Mayor Sam Heflin said that Officer Gary Chapman has been placed on administrative leave. Priceville Police Department previously said that officers involved in the chase were all placed on administrative leave. Heflin reiterated Tuesday that it is standard procedure for any officers involved in a major incident. Through investigation of Chapman's social media, News 19 learned that he is the son of, Dog the Bounty Hunter, or Dwayne Chapman. So that being said, it does seem like this is an administrative thing. All right, let's see here. Chapman was also previously featured on Priceville Police Department's social media as recently as April. Now, he is also named in a lawsuit by the family of John Scott Jr., who died in police custody after an extended interaction with the Decatur Police Department in April. Hartselle Police said that the Priceville Police Department was engaged in a vehicle chase that entered Hartselle on Highway 36. The chase ended in a crash at an intersection where the suspect's vehicle hit another vehicle that was carrying 17-year-old Tristan Hollis and at least 3 others, causing multiple injuries. Now, according to his grandmother, Hollis was unfortunately lost his life in the crash. Priceville police said that the chase began when an officer attempted to stop the suspect for moving violations and suspicion of driving under the influence. So it sounds like a very tragic story, but it also sounds like something that is somewhat standard procedure and wouldn't be something that would garner national attention unless, you're the son or daughter of someone fairly famous. Well, we have got a lot of final form Jesus stories, so hold on to your butts, y'all. We might be in the end times.
The key-keeper scroll, thou glowing shrine of thirst traps, scams, and dollar signs. We chant in tones both grim and low, for virtue fled a long time ago. Kyrie eleison, Christe descendat, final form Jesus return in wrath. With six-pack glistening, sword in hand, he cometh swift to cleanse the land.
Well, if you ever stay up at night late to ponder the mystery of the universe, I do have answers for the, Hellfire missile versus UFO. Apparently, UFO wins. Shocking radar footage shows a Hellfire missile fired by the U.S. military bounced off a UFO over the ocean. The House Committee on Restoring Public Trust. Well, if that isn't an Orwellian name, these are not the truths you're looking for. Yeah, anything that says restoring public trust, I assume you're lying to me, but I'm fully Dale Gribble, so maybe I'm just too cynical. Revealed a shocking video, a new video that shows a hulking U.S. military artillery shell bounce off a UFO as it flew over the ocean. The wild footage, let's catch this, so I can be more terrified that we'll need Will Smith. All right. Is that the UFO or the missile? I have no idea. Let's continue. Oh, well, I mean, it just made baby UFOs. That's scary. If it's not Skynet, it's gonna be E.T. That's good. If you ever wondered if we do in fact need Will Smith, apparently we will. And I'm glad that he's been training with Jada, a, alleged alien for so many years, because 4th of July is coming back. Now, the wild footage shared by Representative Eric Burson during the disclosure hearing on Capitol Hill on Tuesday showed a Hellfire missile that was fired by a U.S. military drone, striking a glowing orb that flew off the coast of Yemen. Now, the speeding object was paced by a 100-pound Hellfire missile from an air-to-ground round fired by an MQ-9 drone, which made contact then bounced right off, as shown in radar footage from October 30th, 2024. Now, footage came from a separate MQ-9 drone, which recorded the orb spinning after the missile made contact, but then continued on its way, UFO expert George Knapp said during the hearing. There's a server where there's a whole bank of these kind of videos that Congress has not been allowed to see, that the public has not been allowed to see, according to Knapp at this hearing. That's a Hellfire missile smacking that UFO and just bouncing off. It just kept going, Knapp said. What the hell is that? Now, 2 Air Force veteran whistleblowers also testified at the hearing, sharing jarring firsthand accounts of witnessing football-sized rectangular UFOs and a giant red glowing square. Now, former U.S. Air Force military police officer Jeffrey Nucatelli experienced several unidentified aerial phenomenon incidents while being stationed at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, which is the home to the National Missile Defense Project. These facilities were vital and, repeatedly visited by UAP, which is the new term for UFOs, apparently. Now, on October 14th, 2003, Boeing contractors reported seeing a massive glowing red square silently hovering over 2 missile defense sites before drifting east and vanishing behind trees. Later that same night, Nucatelli was woken by frantic calls from other security guards who said a bright, fast-moving object was headed right towards base. So, are all the aliens coming? Would they be better or worse than Congress? I feel like I'd have a hard Sophie's choice here. When I arrived, five shaken witnesses described a massive rectangular craft larger than a football field that hovered silently for about 45 seconds before shooting away at an incredible speed. 1 week later, security officials declared an emergency as a strange light hit over the ocean, which they believed to be an unmanned craft headed for base. Before forces arrived, the craft, which had descended and briefly hovered close to the base, vanished instantly into the night, according to the Air Force veteran cop. Nucatelli also said that he and his two friends saw an object that maneuvered like a butterfly dancing 200 feet over his home. The U.S. Air Force veteran Dylan Borland testified that he had personally witnessed a massive triangle-shaped UFO at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia during the summer of 2012. At about 1 a.m., he saw a 100-foot equilateral triangle take off from near a NASA hangar on the base. The craft interfered with my phone, did not have sound, and the material appeared to be fluid or dynamic. The object first appeared as a circle, then revealed its true shape as it became came closer to Borland. I was under a triangle craft for a few minutes, then it rapidly ascended to commercial jet levels in seconds, displaying zero kinetic disturbance, sound, or wind displacement. Borland claimed that since he witnessed the out-of-world craft, his career has been derailed to the point where he was unable to be employed within the intelligence community. The vet further claimed that All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, had previously misreported events and should be met with skepticism. Good question. I do not know. Oh, thank you. Yeah, so there you go. Aliens are coming back in. I put this in final form Jesus because this didn't seem like it was lordshipy levels of cavalcade of criminality, but it did seem like what in the name of Hades? Yeah, a bit of a little just cannot understand. An elderly woman shot a man in the face with a flare gun inside a gated Long Island community. You know, when grandma is strapped, you better keep your head on a swivel. An elderly Long Island woman shot her neighbor in the face with a flare gun during an argument inside the gated retirement community, officials said Tuesday. Now, Kathleen Schumann, 76, allegedly shot her 67-year-old neighbor when an argument outside their home at the Belmont Vista Senior Apartments in West Babylon on Monday evening developed. We are aware of an altercation that occurred yesterday between two residents, a spokesperson for Conifer LLC management company said. The one they oversee Belmont Vistas said in a statement. Okay, do we have? Oh, oh, we can't show that because nope. All right, well, flare gun granny does exist. Do not shoot flare guns at each other. I don't know who needs to see that, but don't use, weapons of any kind in retirement. Now, the victim, identified by NBC New York as Richard Controne, was hospitalized but is expected to make a full recovery. I am glad that no one was seriously hurt by this, and hopefully justice occurs. Now, the flare gun firing septuagenarian is set to be arraigned in court on Tuesday. Police did not disclose what sparked the dispute or why Schulman may have fired the flare gun, why she had it on her. The Belmont Vistas community is marketed as a quiet, gated apartment complex for residents 55 years and older. Sometimes the police come because it's a community for older people, but I never thought, we'd ever have anyone come because flare gun violence. So hopefully both people can get some help, learn to be better neighbors. What in the heck in the Hades is going on with these people? I don't I don't even know what to say about this one, y'all. Vaccine skeptic pet owners are refusing to inoculate their dogs, insisting that the shots cause, I guess, doggy autism. And I am not joking. I about, whatever your personal beliefs are about humans and vaccines. I am never one to proselytize or tell someone how to think. I don't know about dog autism. And I don't know what is the matter with people anymore. Go out, touch grass, play with your puppies, get them the, preventative medicine they need so they don't have lifelong health complications. Welcome, welcome, Shizzy. Thank you, Raiders, for coming by. One of one of the many care requirements for pet owners is to get their beloved fur babies vaccinated to prevent or protect them from contagious diseases that could be fatal. However, more recently, some owners have been hesitating to do so because they believe that the shots could potentially cause autism in their pets. Now, according to a 2023 survey by the Boston School of Public Health published in the journal Vaccine, about 37% of dog owners believe that canine vaccination could cause their pets to develop autism. A survey revealed that more than 20% of owners think that pet vaccines are ineffective and 30 don't believe that they're necessary. To each their own. While some dogs may present certain behavioral issues that are associated with the autism spectrum disorder, this belief is actually just a myth. In fact, pets don't get autism, according to Lori Kogan, a PhD, a psychologist and professor of clinical sciences at Colorado State University, and the chair of Animal-Human Interaction section of the American Psychological Association, shared with WebMD in March. So that's not something to worry about, Kogan explained. Dr. Michael Q. Bailey, the president of the American Veterinary Medical Association, also agreed with this. There is absolutely no scientific proof connecting any vaccine that we produce today with autism, he told HuffPost about, pet and human vaccines. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I never thought to worry about getting my pets vaccines. I mean, beyond they need them for their health, and I get them because I try to be a good pet parent. But, as for, I guess, shots giving them autism, I never had that on any of my radars. Now, Bailey noted that hesitancy is not bad in itself, emphasizing that people should educate themselves and talk to their veterinarians. While some pet owners are debating vaccinating their pets, Gen Zers are bringing their furry companions to college and using them for emotional support. So, there you go. Keep your pets vaccinated, and according to doctorologists that talk to the New York Post, they will not get autism, which I didn't know was a thing that we were worried about. I feel this man's pain because I may or may not have watched American Pie with my parents for the first time with my parents. So when imagined like teenage 15-year-old Mo realizing that my parents get all the dirty jokes that are going on too, and then being horrified. You just can't enjoy that. But on a personal note, Grandma's Boy is one of my favorite movies. I know it lacks plot, and like an actual, real message throughout that makes it a serious movie. But it's one of my favorite, just kind of sit down and laugh my boobs off kind of movie. Nick Swardson tells the horrifying story of when his Grammy, went to go see Grandma's Boy. It's not a kid's movie. It's not a family movie. Do not do this. Do not take me, Ma, to Grandma's Boy. Just because the movie was called Grandma's Boy didn't mean that it was a family comedy. Hopefully the movie world learned that lesson long before the release of Dirty Grandpa. But back in 2006, Happy Madison Productions released the gross out slacker stoner comedy Grandma's Boy that fittingly underachieved at the box office. Still one of my favorites though, so screw you box office. Grossing just 6.6 million on a $5 million budget, the movie about a surfing stoner and video game tester would go on to have a thriving second life on the physical media market, but at the time of its theatrical release, audience didn't bother with a critically reviled comedy about, well, grossness, weed, and everything else, and hanging out with your surprisingly cool grandma. Even one of Grandma Boy's screenwriters' own grandmas couldn't stomach it. During an appearance on the Honeydew podcast with Ryan Stickler, Nick Swartzen revealed that Grandma's Boy caused a minor family crisis for him when his own grandmother, from whom Swartzen had hoped to keep the film's existence entirely secret, assumed from the comedy's title that her grandson had written a movie about her and was one of the very few to see Grandma's Boy in theaters. Said Swartzen of his poor Nana's reaction to Grandma's Boy, "My nurse took her in a wheelchair and my grandma walked out of the movie." That's pretty good. Clearly, Swartzen's poor grandmother had a developed palate for films, as her feelings on Grandma Boy were shared by an entirely critical community at the time of the movie's release. For instance, in his ruthless review, Entertainment Weekly's George Krishling wrote, "Grandma's Boy is a low-gas frat comedy about a 35-year-old game tester who moves in with his grandma and her two friends and does a very thorough job of reducing every recognizable member of the cast to probable career lows." So, I will say I love Grandma's Boy, but yeah, you probably, unless your Meemaw has the humor of a sailor, probably not a movie for your Meemaw. But it's more of a story of things that would only happen to me. In our final story in Final Form Jesus, I have the wand of excommunication because we will not deal with gnome thievery around here. No known gnome thievery. This is not tolerable. I understand gnomes are weird, some of them are creepy looking, but we don't steal gnomes. I don't know if that's a misdemeanor or a felony. There is no rest for the wicked. A beloved painted bench, the crown jewel of a quirky gnome-themed garden in Queens, embraced by locals for more than a decade, was bizarrely stolen from outside its owner's home last week. Wait, they stole the damn bench? What the hell is wrong with people? What the hell is wrong with you that you would steal a cast iron freaking bench? Someone needs Jesus or Satan, something. I don't know. Or lithium, giblets. Who the hell steals a bench? The iron piece, inscribed with a quote from the poet Charles Bukowski, dubbed the Gnome Bench by residents, was lifted from its 15-year-old resting spot in the wee hours of September 1st, said Long Island City homeowner and artist Christopher Carlson. Again, who the hell steals a bench? And I live in rural Indiana. It became a weird thing on its own, Carlson said of the bench, which he initially painted for fun and watched it quickly become a landmark in the neighborhood on its spot on 47th Road near 11th Street. The preschool would pass and they liked it, so I kept adding gnomes to it, he said, calling the theft of the bench a letdown. Carlson's wife, Susan Pulfalski, said the theft is bad karma. There's kids that used to sit on that. Families would stop, and this bench was such a landmark to the community, she said. People were constantly taking photos outside. It was a regular stop for people who wanted to take a moment, and the kids would get such joy. It was a lovely thing. It's really disappointing, and it's been a disappointment to the community. The green bench was bolted down until recently while family did work on their patio. The couple's Ring camera was down at the time of the crime, they said, adding they've already filed a police report and are asking neighbors for their possible security footage. Every once in a while, a gnome will go missing, and that's fine, Carlson said. But a whole bench? At first, I thought it was drunk kids or teenagers, but then usually you would dump it at a corner because the joke's over, but it's gone. Furious locals didn't take long to post on Reddit about the vanished local landmark, with one user lamenting, "This is why we can't have nice things." Outside Carson's home, a 7-year-old boy named Max stopped by Tuesday afternoon with his mom, Bridget, as they've regularly done for the last 3 years. "It's cool," Max said of the beloved bench. "I don't know why anyone would take it to steal. I liked that I could sit on it and take pictures." So it looks like they just, make a spot where people can take cool pictures. And of course, because one or two douches have to ruin every damn thing. You know what? As leader Mo of the Church of Mo, should we find the a-hole that did this? Snake Island. Like, Final Form Jesus is not the right space for you. Snake Island. His mom said kids would come around and it was cute. Kids like to walk down his block because of this. It's a relatively safe neighborhood, but in New York City, anything can happen. And it's disappointing, but I can't say that I'm fully surprised. Carson said he believes that the thief is responsible, came with a van with the intention of taking the bench, noting that the iron structure weighs hundreds of, or at least 100 pounds and some change. While he doesn't expect it to come back, he vowed to make a new one. What can you do? Make another one, something different? It was something special to us, then the whole neighborhood, and someone stole it. If there's a big change of heart and it's magically there in the morning, that would be awesome. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope you get to feeling a little better. So there you have it, our Final Form Jesus stories. And some people that need Jesus, because good night, nurse. Who steals a bench? It was bad enough when it was gnome theft, but then you steal a daggone bench? Who does that? Really, who does that? We have got so many more stories. Well, an influencer is in trouble over alligator wrestling photos. A self-anointed American wildlife wrangler known as the Real Tarzan is facing massive backlash and a possible fine after uploading a controversial video of himself wrestling a freshwater crocodile in the waters of Queensland, Australia. Mike Holston, an influencer with over 23 million followers, shared the footage on Thursday, September 4th, and quickly got roasted by followers and other digital onlookers. The video, reportedly filmed near Lockhart River in Cape York, shows Holston stepping off the boat into shallow water and charging toward a crocodile. Now startled, the crocodile appears to try to flee, but Holston runs it down, jumps on its back, and wrestles it to shore in a tense struggle captured by a cameraman. "He got a hold of me, but I got a hold of him," Holston declared, laughing as blood poured from a gash on his arm. Again, it's not too soon. Don't be Steve Irwin. Leave the wild aminals alone. You can take photos and you don't have to touchy. I feel like, the King Cusco, from the Emperor's New Groove should kind of be your wildlife, kind of motto. No touchy. Just take pictures. Problem solved. "He got a good piece of my arm, man. Look at the guy," he said over the crocodile's groans. "This is sick. This is what dreams are made of. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to come to Australia just to look at crocodiles and catch them with my hands." I mean, everyone has different bucket goals, but maybe, bothering small crocodiles shouldn't be a bucket goal list. I don't know. Just a thought, maybe. But not everyone found it sick in the same way. Now, the video quickly wrapped up more than 800,000 views, but it also triggered widespread outrage from conservation groups and members of the public. The public response was divided. While many of Holston's followers were in awe of the crazy stunt, others weren't. Why do that to them, though? I don't get it. Leave them alone. It's kind of sad you're coming into their safe space. It's just not right, someone commented. Bro, the poor guy was just there resting and not hurting anyone. I don't understand why you'd bother him and invade his space just for a video, another said. Community Representation of Crocodiles, or CROC, a Queensland-based animal welfare organization, publicly condemned the stunt on social media. This behavior is distressing for the animal and illegal under the Nature Conservation Act, the group said in a statement on Friday, February 5th. When it's promoted on large social media platforms without permits or authority to handle wildlife, it sets a dangerous precedent. Unfortunately, the penalty is minimal considering the monetization these counts can make. Now, according to Croc, Holston's video was reported to authorities multiple times by concerned viewers. The group urged the public not to engage with or promote such content, but instead to report it when it was spotted online. Queensland Department of Environment confirmed in an interview that an investigation is underway. It is a significant offense to interfere with freshwater crocodiles in Queensland, not to mention extremely dangerous. Now, under Queensland law, deliberately disturbing or handling crocodiles without authorization can lead to fines of up to $18,000. Well, he's from America, but he went to, I guess, Queensland, Australia. Now, I know there are different states in Australia, but I don't remember what they are. However, Holston is no stranger to controversy. His social media is filled with footage of close encounters with dangerous wildlife, including giant snakes, birds of prey, and even a Sumatran saltwater crocodile. The incident in Queensland is just the latest in a growing trend of influencers who are engaging in wildlife stunts for views. Again, clout is not that important. Don't mess with animals. We are called to be good stewards of animals, which sometimes means leaving wild animals alone. My kiddos really wanted, to have one of the frogs that they found, bring it inside and make it a pet. And I had to explain to them that I have no idea how to take care of a frog, and the frog lives its best life outside. Now, to be completely confidential between you, me, and the internet, I don't like reptiles. They are not my jam. I don't look down on anyone who has reptiles. If they are your jam, listen and, dance like no one's listening in your jam. However, I don't want reptiles in my house. And since I currently help pay bills, I said no to the reptiles, but I did present it as, we need to make the best choices for the toad who has everything they need outside and not in my house. So yeah, how about don't be dicks to wild animals? I don't know who needs to hear that, but just don't. Well, as someone who has six children to put through college, this is, pretty interesting information. Americans can make thousands of dollars a month in this foreign country just by using their voice. Start warming up your vocals. An American mother of three claims that she makes thousands of dollars a month just using her voice, thanks to her British fan base, assuming you can presumably, you can do it too. Despite often being stereotyped as dumb, blonde, and American, Holly Jane, A42, for OnlyFans. Yeah, I don't think they're viewing for your accent. I could be wrong, but OnlyFan accent site, I haven't been to that yet. Yeah, apparently it's her voice, y'all. That's what they're like. It's when she says the Aldi. She's like, hello, would you like to see the Aldis? How about we go to the Walmart? Do you have a side of ranch? People underestimate me. Okay, no, your voice. So does she do audio recording? Okay, let's see here. With 1.6 million followers on Instagram and a strong base on OnlyFans, which I guess you would need a strong base for, Holly earns close to 20,000 a month just from recording and sending voice notes. Okay, ma'am, they are not contacting you for your Americanisms. They're not like, you know what I need to hear? I need to hear something vaguely Appalachian. No, they're looking at your side boob, ma'am. Well, damn. I thought I was going to make millions with my voice. But no, apparently it involves, all sorts of nude too. So there you go. It's probably not just your accent, ma'am, but way to frame it. I didn't know to I decided not to put this in with Lord Chippy, but I have so many questions. So let's get into this story. A woman who bit off her attacker's tongue was acquitted 61 years later. A South Korean woman has been acquitted after a court revisited her decades-old conviction for biting off the tongue of a man who was allegedly trying to SA her. Uh, this Granbo has been anointed as a full-on carrier of the Order of Bitchfire. This is some badass behavior, and it is a travesty that she got convicted for trying to protect herself. Chow Jol-ma was 18 when she was convicted of grievous bodily harm and sentenced to 10 months in jail. Now her aggressor, who was 21, received a lighter sentence of just 6 months. After years-long campaign to clear her name, a retrial began in the southern city of Busan in July. Now, in its first hearing, the prosecutors apologized to her and, in an unusual move, asked the court to quash the conviction. I could not let this case go unanswered. I wanted to stand up for other victims who share the same fate as mine, said Miss Choi after the acquittal. As a teenager back then, the incident changed her fate by turning me from a victim to an accused. People around me warned that it would be like throwing eggs at a rock, but I could not let this case go, said Miss Choi, who is now 79. She thanked her supporters and called out those in power whom she said abused their authorities to trample the weak and manipulate the law. Miss Choi's case has been cited in legal textbooks in South Korea as a classic example of the court failing to recognize self-defense during SAs. According to court records, the attacker had pinned Miss Choi to the ground somewhere in the southern town of Gimhae, and she only managed to break free after biting about a good chunk of his tongue off. OFF and good on you, ma'am. Now, the man continually demanded compensation for his injury and even once broke into Miss Choi's home with a knife, South Korean media reported. In one of South Korea's most contentious rulings on SA, the man was sentenced to 6 months in prison with 2 years suspended for trespassing and intimidation. He was never officially charged with attempted SA. Miss Choi received a harsher sentence for causing him grievous bodily harm, with the court saying at the time that her actions exceeded the reasonable bounds for self-defense. She was detained for 6 months during the investigation and later given a 10-month sentence, which was suspended for 2 years. In 2018, inspired by the global Me Too movement, which has also taken a hold in South Korea, Ms. Choi reached out to advocacy groups and spent about 2 years gathering evidence before filing a petition for a retrial. Now her path to exoneration has been challenging. Lower courts rejected her petition, saying there was no evidence to support her claims of self-defense. Now, Ms. Choi fought on, saying she didn't want to see other victims of SA go through what she did. They should not have to bear the pain alone, she told the Korean Herald in an earlier interview. Finally, in December 2024, the Supreme Court granted her application to reopen the case. Outside the court on Wednesday, Ms. Choi and her supporters were all smiles, with some of them holding placards that said, "Cho Mal-ja did it," and she succeeded. Now, her lawyer, Kim Soo-jung, described the earlier conviction as a misjudgment due to gender bias and societal perceptions, and thanks to her relentless fight without ever giving up, The prosecution and judiciary had the opportunity to correct that error today. Well, yeah, I mean, now Ms. Cho does plan to file a civil lawsuit against the state and seek compensation. The Korean Women's Hotline, one of the group that had supported Ms. Choi in her campaign, believes that Wednesday's verdict will pave the way for justice for victims of SA. Going forward, women's defensive acts will be understood as legitimate. I expect this means we will see fewer women face unjust suffering, said Song Han-ji, who leads the group. At the very least, it will send a message to victims, even if the process you're going through right now is painful and unjust. It says, your voice matters, so speak out. There have been at least 2 other cases in Korea or South Korea of women biting off pieces of assailants. One in 1988 in the city of Andong and the other in 2020 in Busan. Now, in both cases, the court recognized that the women did legitimate acts of self-defense and ruled in their favor. So I am glad that things are changing over there. And feminists, this is, women's protection that I could get behind. This is an injustice. It seems like it's getting corrected, but this is a legitimate injustice that I could have actually gotten behind. Not, microaggressions. This is an actual, injustice that I would have gotten behind. People are willing to stand up to injustice when it's real, when it's something that you can do to help, when it's letting a victim know that she will be believed. In a case like this where it is so patently unjust, I'm willing to stand up, but I'm not willing to stand up if you feel like razors shouldn't be pink. That's redonkulous. We do have 4 in the cavalcade of criminal catastrophes for Lord Chippy, so let's get in and on to that without further ado.
They're our skin, they steal our grace. These monsters wear a human face. No gavel, no badge, no throne, no crown can stop Lord Chippy from burning them down. Justice ain't fast, justice ain't clean. It's a long, sharp road through the in-between. So raise your fists and light your flames. Chippy's coming and he don't play games.
Now, this mugshot is of a man confused as to why a foot fetishist is charged with SA by a 69-year-old in a nursing home because he was rubbing her feet with lotion and now faces 99 years in jail. Now, as a person who thinks feet are gross, I am totally okay with the 99 years in prison, but I do realize that I don't speak for everyone, and some people like feet. Really, really like feet. Ugh. A sick ex-nursing home janitor massaged and pressed his jungular region against the feet of a 69-year-old resident and could now spend the rest of his life behind bars. Yeah, straight to Snake Island. When you add the jungular region to, out. A jury of Louisianans found Bobby Mendel Bester of Slidell guilty of SA for his sickening actions against the helpless elderly woman in 2018, according to a release from District Attorney J. Colin Sims. Now, Bester, 47, entered the room of the unidentified victim who was laying down on her bed when the creep, there to perform janitorial duties, made a comment about one of her socks having fallen off, the testimony in the trial revealed. The pervert then closed the door, shut the blinds, and began massaging the woman's foot with lotion while asking if she was ticklish. He tickled her feet, then pressed him against his jungular region during the foot groping, according to prosecutors. Now, when steps were heard outside the door during the nauseating massage, Bester would stop and wait for the coast to be clear before continuing his twisted foot touching. Ugh. Ugh. It took police 6 years to arrest the creepy foot tickler. Ugh. finally putting cuffs on his feet fixated hands in February 2024. Now, he acknowledged having a foot fetish but denied the accusations against him, though a jury disagreed. Now, another woman, a local real estate agent, testified that Bester had called her office under the guise of buying a property, but instead asked her out on a date in 2007. Now, after being rejected, he repeatedly called her and left lurid and disturbing voicemails. Can I, divinal style touch myself on your feet? You know, I know you have sexy feet. Could I just suck on them or something? He said in a recording. Now, the woman recorded Bester to the police, according to a release. He faces between 25 and 99 years in prison. I'm okay with this. I know, Boosh. It's like we no longer get reliable service. I, what is wrong with people? I don't get it. How can you run into someone and then, like, just nothing happened? As if nothing happened, a woman backed into a nursing home coworker in the parking lot, then went to work and told everyone that the woman had fallen. Jim, yeah, well, that's the other thing. The amount of time is ridiculous. It's kind of absurd on many, many levels. This is another one from Louisiana. Louisiana, blink if you need help. A Louisiana woman who allegedly backed over her coworker at a nursing home and then went to work as if nothing happened now faces felony charges. And we're back in Slidell. The Slidell Police Department said in a Facebook post that a 67-year-old Lynn Sellers was behind bars after she was caught on camera allegedly backing her SUV over an unnamed coworker. Police say that Seller later returned to the scene to retrieve a piece of her vehicle's bumper as the alleged victim just laid on the ground suffering from critical injuries. Sellers then allegedly went to work as if nothing had happened. Now, police said paramedics responded to the call on Sunday around 11 p.m. about a woman who had apparently fallen in the parking lot of Greenbrier Community Care Center in Slidell in the northern part of the greater New Orleans area. Now, the woman was quickly transported to a hospital where medical staff determined that her injuries would not have been caused by a fall. They concluded that the woman's injuries were consistent with being struck by a vehicle, and they called the police. The police then showed up to the nursing home during the early morning hours on Monday and were shown surveillance video by the nursing home staff. Now, the video showed the SUV violently and recklessly backing into the alleged victim. So it's almost like the Karen Reed case, except with evidence and video recording. It's going to be a strange new world with evidence in these cases. The video. So, and later in the video, a woman who is identified as Seller eventually got out of the SUV, picked up a broken car part, and then went to work as if nothing had happened, not even looking in on her coworker who she had just hit. Now, according to police, when Sellers got to work, she allegedly told her coworkers that a woman had just fallen in the parking lot. Nursing home employees went out to get her help, not knowing how she had, allegedly fallen. Once it was determined that Sellers hit the woman in the parking lot, she was arrested and questioned by police. When asked for an explanation for her actions, Sellers reportedly shrugged her shoulders and provided no real explanation. So it looks like she has been charged with reckless operation of a motor vehicle, hit and run, driving, causing serious bodily injury, negligent injury, and obstruction of justice by tampering with evidence. Now, police don't believe that she intentionally was trying to hit this person, but that by her reckless and careless actions, she did. So just all in all, like, reckless behavior and not caring about people around you is ridiculous. Speaking of not caring, an incubator decided to leave her children while she went to the vape shop. By the powers vested in me by the Council of Women who have had way too many daggone children, we would like to finally kick you out of the Mother Club. You are now just an incubator. Congratulations. You work for the job you want, and that's not mom behavior, so excommunicated. A mom is posing her cheeky little behind in a mugshot after leaving her kids aged 2 and 4 alone in an apartment so she could go smoke. Well, keep smiling, sister, because I don't think Gen Pop's going to be super happy with that. A Kentucky woman is facing charges after she allegedly left her children, 2 and 4, so she could go smoke the devil's lettuce. Morgan Chapman, 23, stands accused of 2 counts of endangering the welfare of a child, according to a complaint obtained by Law and Crime. Pikeville police responded around 9 p.m. to a domestic dispute call at an apartment on Northgate Drive. Now, police went to the apartment and found 2 very young children opening the door per the complaint. Now, the officers conducted a protective sweep of the apartment and realized that the 2 young children were home alone. Cops spoke to the neighbors, who said that they don't know where the mother was. The woman who lives across the hall said that Chapman asked her to watch the children around 5 p.m., roughly 5 hours earlier, so that she could go smoke and didn't want the kids around. Now, go smoke is a common street term for smoking the marijuana. Police investigated, and she showed up. Investigating officers noted that he could smell both alcohol and, the ganja on her. She also had bloodshot eyes and slurred speech. Now, she allegedly claimed that she was only downstairs at a neighbor's house for a couple of minutes. Sure, Jan. Police arrested her and took her to the Pike County Detention Center, where she has since bonded out. Now, the children were taken to the police station, and the Division of Protection and Permanency was noticed. So I'm guessing that's like their Children's and Family Services. And hopefully there are family members that can provide a stable and loving environment while this mom firmly grasps her shoulders and pulls her head out of her colon area. Ugh. In what I cannot even wrap my head around the evil in this. Some of these cases I try to pick out are funny ones, and then some are just pure evil, naming and shaming monsters. Now, this is just a heartbreaking and monstrous case. Cool, how deep. An uncle admits that he helped take the lives and bury his sister's children in the backyard with assistance from other relatives, allegedly including the kid's father and grandma. Sometimes evil never needs a reason, but God Almighty, you wish you had one, because none of this crap makes sense. Not one word that I just read should be a word that should go together and string a sentence that describes this kind of evil. A Georgia uncle has admitted to helping his sister's husband, a Walmart Santa Claus worker, take the lives of 2 of his children and hide their bodies. Mark Wright of Effingham County entered a guilty plea in late August to second-degree red rum, cruelty to children in the first and second degrees, 2 counts of concealing the death of another, and false imprisonment, according to local ABC affiliate WJCL. Now, court records viewed by Law and Crime show that Wright was indicted in 2018 alongside his sister, Candace Crocker, and her husband, Elwyn Crocker Sr., as well as other family members, for the deaths of the couple's 2 children, Mary Crocker, age 14, and her brother, Elwyn Crocker Jr., also 14, in 2018 and 2016, respectively. Now, Krim Wright, who is Mark Wright and Candace Crocker's mother, was also charged and pled guilty to murder in 2020, along with Kim's boyfriend, Roy Prater. Now, Mark Wright allegedly admitted to helping Elwyn Crocker Sr. with taking the children's lives and burying their bodies in the Crocker backyard. Just gross. Text messages allegedly reveal how the disturbing double red rum case unfolded with Crocker Sr., who went through pretrial hearings last month and is faced with the possibility of a death penalty. Let me write this one down. This is a case I would like to follow. I'm not particularly drawn to children cases, but this one seems like one that we need hellfire and bitch fire and hate fire all curled in together to make this one bearable. And this is in Georgia. Okay, in one text, Crocker Sr. allegedly told his mother-in-law, Krim Wright, almost done burying Mary's. Her apparent enthusiastic response is, cool, how deep? Another text message exchange that prosecutors intend to present to jurors includes when Crocker and his wife spoke negatively about Mary, according to ABC affiliate JLCL. Now, I think she's been hit in the head too many times, Crocker Sr. allegedly said of his daughter. After causing the teen girl to pass away due to malnutrition in October 2018, Crocker Sr. texted Kim Wright about almost being done with burying Mary in the backyard and acting spooked out one point by passing cars, according to prosecutors. There was a car driving by really slowly, Crocker Sr. allegedly told Wright. I think it was a cop car. Prosecutors have said Elwin Jr. and Mary disappeared years apart, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Elwin Jr. disappeared in November 2016, while Mary was last seen in October 2018. Now, neither of the children were ever reported missing. In December 2018, police searched the farm property in Effingham County after receiving a tip from a person that was concerned about Mary's whereabouts. When they started asking Crocker Sr. questions, he allegedly gave them information that led them to his backyard, where the children's bodies were eventually found. The family had been reported to the Division of Family Services before the discovery, according to reports. The unnamed biological mother of the children, it was said to be homeless in South Carolina. Now, details about the medical state of the children when they were killed have been revealed in court, including how Mary's body mass index was 6.8. So typically for most children, you want to see growth on their growth chart, but a body mass index of 8 is emaciated. It's just not even right. It's drastically underweight. According to a forensic pathologist who took the stand in May, her body length was under the second percentile, said Dr. Edmund Donahue, a former medical examiner for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Her actual weight was below the first percentile, he said. I've never seen such a low number. Donahue testified that Mary appeared to have been starved to death, while Elwin Jr.'s cause of death could not be determined as his remains were only bones. Despite that, both deaths were ruled homicides. Wright will be sentenced in October and faces up to 80 years in prison. You know, these children deserved a better life, a better family, a better uncle, better grandma, and better parents than they had. And sadly, this is the only justice that we can provide them on earth. But I do hope that someone helps them in the afterlife remember. Oh, sometimes these stories are terrible, but they do need to be known. They do need to be talked about, sadly. Well, maybe don't steal your roommate's ID and try to attempt to become a nurse. You know, nurse is not one of these careers that you can generally just, wing your way through. It's actually kind of a pretty important thing. A Florida man has been arrested at a job interview while allegedly impersonating a nurse with his roommate's credentials. What did I do? What did I do? A neurotic scammer was nabbed by Florida cops in the middle of a staged job interview on Monday, following a weeks-long probe into his alleged scheme of posing as a nurse for hire using his roommate's stolen credentials. Joseph Thomas Kinney, 55, was arrested by officers with the Valdosta County Sheriff's Office after a hiring manager at a Florida clinic reported him in August for applying with a fraudulent credentials. or with fraudulent credentials. Now, Kinney's original licenses, which he held in Alabama, California, and Florida, were revoked in 2022 due to several alarming violations, including diverted drugs from his employer and driving under the influences of drugs, according to the sheriff's office. Now, the manager first encountered Kinney during his previous interview at the Indigo Manor Nursing and Rehabilitation Facility in Daytona Beach on October 2024, according to an arrest affidavit obtained by Click Orlando. Now, at that time, the manager recalled Kinney was clearly nervous and provided dubious documents, including a driver's license with inconsistent details, according to the affidavit. While the authorities caught wind that Kinney was trying to apply for yet another position in DeLand, Florida, they sent detectives to stand in as faux hiring coordinators, according to VCSO. Kinney was arrested without incident upon arrival, but appeared befuddled as he looked between the 5 deputies taking him into custody, according to body cam footage released by the sheriff's office. "What did I do?" he asked. Now, during their investigation, authorities claimed that Kinney had applied to 10 to 15 nursing jobs throughout Central Florida with the same stolen certifications. He was even hired for 2 positions in both Seminole and Orange County, but only held down that job for a week at a time. So both of those jobs were for only about a week. Now, it's unclear if Kinney was fired from the 2 gigs or lost his nerve and quit. Before his licenses were nullified, Kinney had been disciplined for repeated violations, including diverting drugs from his employer and driving under the influence of drugs, providing false information on professional conduct, according to the investigation. Now, he was booked on charges for 2 counts of practicing healthcare without a license and is being held in the county jail on a $20,000 bond. In August, another Florida resident in the county, or in a county just 40 miles north of Volusia, not Valdosta, was also arrested for working under a fake nursing license. And that was for 2 years. This person had been using a fake license. So it's ridiculous. And sir, don't pretend to be a healthcare worker. Well, I mean, it's a bold strategy. I don't know how it would work out, but it's creative thinking, or it's pinky in the brain thinking. A Royal Caribbean cruise passenger dived overboard to allegedly dodge $1,000 in gambling debt. He was going to swim with the fishes. I don't know if he played the thought all the way through. He jumped the shark one too many poker games ago. A passenger aboard a Royal Caribbean cruise ship tossed himself overboard into the open sea during an alleged attempt to avoid paying a staggering $16,000 in gambling debt racked up over his vacation. Jay Gonzalez-Diaz set sail on the Rhapsody of the Seas for a week-long holiday in which he threw caution and apparently common sense to the wind and gambled his heart out. The ship completed its voyage Sunday when it pulled into the port of San Juan. While the trip was returning to port, Gonzalez-Diaz realized his supposed error and pitched himself into the water as the cruise was disembarking shortly after 9 a.m. local time, according to a criminal complaint obtained by CBS News. Well, I mean, it's a bold strategy. Someone passing by on a jet ski then helped him ashore, according to a surveillance video. Now, Gonzalez-Diaz was later tracked down by U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers near the Puerto Rican Capitol building. He was apprehended carrying 2 phones, 5 IDs, and $14,600 in cash, roughly $2,000 short of his $16,710 in debt that he had racked up while gambling, according to a complaint. Now, some of his dubious identities listed him as Jeremy Diaz, Jeremy Omar Gonzalez Diaz. An individual with the latter name had previously been in federal custody at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Puerto Rico since January. Now, Gonzalez Diaz claimed that federal custody link they found was for his brother's ID. When pressed for his real name, he told officers, if you guys were good at your job, you would know that, according to the complaint. Hey, maybe don't, get in a pissing contest with, border protection when you jumped off a boat to escape gambling debt. Just a thought. He also told officers in Spanish that he leapt overboard because he didn't want to report the currency in his possession because he thought he was going to be taxed duties for bringing in the currency. Now, he is accused of attempting to avoid monetary reporting requirements when traveling into the U.S. and could face a fine of up to $250,000 or a maximum 5 years in prison if he is convicted. So don't do that. In our final story, do not run up debt on, cruise ships and then try to jump off, then pretend to be, Johnny Appleseed. This is probably not going to work. Now, I do have something that I will be sharing with you. It is not my most comfy moment, but if you guys would like to help with sharing, with liking, with adding comments, it is onward to 6K.
It's your girl Mo stumbling to 6K. Snark on parade in the most awkward way. Not glamorous, not slick, just petty with a mic. Grifting one sub at.
I need to fix that. Apparently the onward got messed up. This is what happens when you do things at 4 a.m. and you think you're doing really good, but you don't double check them. Anywho, I am semi-grifting in a self-depreciating way. I love where I am right now, but I would like to, have a goal to work towards. So 6K seems like an achievable goal. So I will be grifting slightly more on that focus measurement and working more on merch. So there you go. Yeah, onward with the wrong spelling, doggone it. This is why I don't have an ego, because every time I get a little too arrogant, I'm reminded to be humble. Have a great day. At 11 o'clock, I'll be hanging out with Megan Fox. We will still be going on the Tim's trial, so please do hang out with us there. And then we will be doing the Brian Koberger, continuing to go on, doing this. Let's see. Doing the Koberger documents. I do have a lot of notes that I've written, so we are continuing forward. There are still a lot of things that we don't know. If you guys haven't hung out with Shizzy and I on 6 p.m. or on Wednesday nights, both Shizzy and I didn't get deeply into the Koberger case, so we are kind of approaching this with fresh and clear. Jim, I'm stealing that on weird. We are fixing that. Yes, Eastern time. So thank you all so much for sharing your mornings with me. This was a bit of a longer stream because I knew Megan was going to be a little bit longer, so I could do a little bit more. Yes, it is going to be Eastern time. So if you, want to learn about the Koberger information, we are going off of the police documents that have been released to kind of give you an idea of how the investigation came out. I know that some people still have a lot of questions about Koberger, but Shizzy and I are kind of approaching it as, let's look at the investigation and what we would have learned in the trial. We appreciate all perspectives, but we are not expertologists in the trial. So we are kind of learning as we go, because this was not a case that either of us were looking too far into. So that is kind of what we're doing on Wednesday nights. It will be here on my channel at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there. Have a lovely day. I appreciate you guys so much. Remember to be kind to yourself, kind to others, but have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire, because you never know if there's a janitor foot fetish guy around the corner. Bye, you guys.